Throughout our lives, we all have experiences that teach us valuable lessons. These lessons shape the way we think, the way we act, and the way we live our lives, the way we invest, the way we run our businesses. However, as we grow older and our lives become more complex, it's easy to forget some of these lessons. That's why I'm excited to chat with Mark Creedon in today's show and share with you some of the lessons we've learned over the years in the hope that they're going to resonate with you and help you in your own journey, whether it's property investment, in business, or through life. Now, this is one of the summer series of shows where we're replaying some of our previously published shows for the benefit of our many new subscribers. So rather than just the regular 2 shows each week, over the month of January, we're offering you 3 shows. So join me on this journey of self-discovery and reflection in today's show, which, well, I was going to say isn't really about property investing, but hey, it's about success and investing. So let's explore some life lessons that have made a difference in our lives. Hopefully, you'll learn something too. So let's get started. How do you view life? Some people think of that what happens in their lives is out of their control. These are the folks that wait passively for what life dishes out for them. They seem to have few goals, and they're the ones that usually hope for the best, that life's going to be kind to them, that eventually they'll be in the right place at the right time. Now, other people realise that life's a great opportunity for learning and for realising their fullest potential. These people, they proactively try to understand how the world works. They set their own goals. They learn all they can as they set out in the direction of their dreams, whether it's in property, in business, in relationships, or whatever. Now, the people who belong to this second type are usually the ones who attain success because they pay attention to the lessons that life teaches them. Now, some of these lessons are learned the hard way. However, by learning to cope with challenges, one can come out of the experience wiser and stronger, more able to face whatever else lies ahead. Now, this is just as relevant to property investing as it is to business, entrepreneurships, relationships, in fact, in all areas of your life. So in today's show, I'm going to chat with Mark Creedon, founder and CEO of Business Accelerator Mastermind. We're going to discuss a series of life lessons that you may have learned in the past, but most probably have forgotten. And hopefully by the end of today's show, you're going to get some great ideas, some inspiration to make some plans for this new year, for 2022, to make it the best year of your life.
Welcome to the Michael Yardney podcast, where twice each week you will learn a number of new ideas regarding success, property investment, and money in around 30 minutes. Our show is brought to you by Metropole, who specialise in helping you grow, protect, and pass on your wealth through strategic property and wealth advice. Now, here's your host, Michael Yardney, Australia's authority in wealth creation through property, who has been voted one of Australia's top 50 most influential thought leaders.
Life is a continuous learning experience. Throughout our lives, we keep rising and falling, picking up some important lessons along the way. Some of these lessons come from experience. If there are others we learn by watching others or by reading books or listening to podcasts. Today, I'd like to discuss some important life lessons that you should learn before it's too late so they don't catch you off guard and unprepared. And I'm going to have this chat with Mark Creedon, founder and CEO of Business Accelerator Mastermind. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Michael.
Now, Mark, there are so many lessons I wish I'd learned when I was young. I wanted to know those to be able to appreciate them and apply them before they sort of caught me off guard. The thing with wisdom, and often with the lessons you learn in general, is that they're learned in retrospect, long after we needed them. And I bet you've had much the same feeling yourself.
Yeah, very much so. I guess the good news, Michael, is that really other people can now learn from our experiences and the lessons that we've learned along the way.
Well, that's what this particular session is about. But interestingly, that's what a lot of our particular podcasts, the regular ones we do as part of the Michael Yardney podcast, they're not as much about property or about business, but just about how to be better at all areas of your life. And the things I've learned from successful property investors and the things that you've learned coaching some very successful Australian small business people and entrepreneurs. So let's look at some of these important life lessons that we should learn as we go, things that maybe the person listening to this has learned but long forgotten. And I think the first one is everything you do matters. You're creating your future at the moment. Where you are right now is a result of all the things you've chosen to do, and of course the things you've chosen not to do along the way, Mark.
Yeah, it's interesting, Mike. You often talk about the compounding effect of both positive and negative decisions. So a decision you make today and continuing, say, positive decisions will lead to a compounding positive impact in years to come. And of course, the same is true with negative decisions, Michael, isn't it?
Isn't it so? That's right. I think another lesson is life never gets simpler. People are waiting for it all to work its way out, to sort itself out. I'm almost scared to say life's meant to be hard, but if you want to be successful in life, you've got to do the hard things now so that you have an easy life later.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is that whilst life doesn't get simpler, you often say it doesn't mean it won't get better. One of the things I always used to say to my kids when they were growing up, Michael, was that everything will be okay in the end. So if it's not okay, it's not the end.
I first heard that expression in that magnificent movie, The Wonderful Marigold's Hotel, but it stuck with me. That's right. I think that's a great way of looking at it. I think the other interesting lesson to learn along the way is rarely do you need to figure everything out fully. I see that with property investors, and I know you see it with business people who won't take the next step till they know it all, till they know what's ahead, to know what's likely or where the risks are. Successful people don't wait till they know everything, do they, Mark?
No, they don't know. And I don't know where the parable was, but I remember reading this parable once about the concept of, finally somebody figured everything out and the next day they died. But they waited so long, Michael, they'd waited so long to get it right and to get it completely right that they had no time left to actually use all this wonderful knowledge that they'd acquired.
So successful people, successful investors, business people, they realize that when they know enough and they recognize that they're going to learn the rest along the way. I remember you teaching me as part of my coaching that you do as my business coach about what a successful SAS officer told you.
Yeah, that's right. So that was about if we're 70% certain, then we go forward and the rest will pick up along the way. So really successful people don't wait to that 100% mark because, Michael, there is no such thing as 100% certainty. I mean, if I'd said to you in 2019, and you and I discussed this actually, how wonderful 2020 was going to be, or people at the end of 2020 said, I can't wait, this pandemic will be over in 2021, it just didn't happen. So if we'd waited for the perfect timing, we would still be sitting back in 2019.
Yep, good point. Another interesting lesson is that while other people seem confident, they seem successful, they seem that they've got their act together, in fact, most of the time that's not really true, is it?
No, often it's sort of faking confidence, Michael, isn't it? What's the old saying? Fake it till you make it. So, yeah. So sometimes you have to actually fake it till you make it. But I think the other thing too about that is that if you look around and you were to, and you often say about comparing your chapter 2 with somebody else's chapter 28, but if you look around and you look at the success that other people have and you wait until you get to that point, the reality is their success may in fact be an illusion. It may not be real at all, Michael.
Good point. I think the other thing is that many of us suffer the imposter syndrome. Now, I've done a whole separate podcast on that a while ago, but the concept is that people feel they're not deserving. I'm going to get caught out one day. I'm an imposter. I shouldn't be where I am. We see this once a year at Wealth Retreat also, where what many other people would call very, very successful people in all walks of their life, still they've got their limiting beliefs, still they've got their challenges, and still they wonder when they're going to get caught out.
Yeah, Wealth Retreat is a great opportunity to see that imposter syndrome. And do you know what, Michael? I think we all suffer from it from time to time, don't we? It's not about absence of the imposter syndrome. I actually think it's about being able to move past it, being able to deal with it. And when it comes to visit, to be able to accept it, and then look around for the proof that you do actually deserve it. But you see lots of people with it holding them back in their property journey, and goodness me, we certainly see it in business as well.
Sure. Now, I also read something interesting. If you want to change the trajectory of your life, you've got to embrace 3 rules and apply them. Commitment is what gets you started. Consistency is what gets you somewhere. And persistence is what keeps you going. When I read that, I think I'd add one more. I'd add patience. Patience, wealth is Warren Buffett said it, wealth's a transfer of money from the impatient to the patient. So commitment's what gets you started along your journey, because you need commitment, you need resilience, because there's going to be obstacles along the way, aren't they?
Yeah, there is. And once you've got that, and I love the adding of patience, but when you've got patience and commitment, I mean, consistency. Everybody that we see, Michael, in property and business, just success in life is just to be consistent. You've got to wake up, you've got to do it, you've got to go to sleep, you've got to wake up, you've got to do it. And if you get that consistency right, then what will happen is you'll suddenly look back over a period of time and go, oh, look how far I've come.
And persistence, of course, is just getting up one more time when you get knocked down, because the journey is hard. Property investors are going to run into vacancies, into tenant problems, into unexpected expenses, into tax issues. Business people, well, what are the common issues they run to? And I should know, being a business person.
Well, do you know what, Michael, if we could find a business that didn't have staff, didn't have cash flow, and didn't have clients.
Oh, perfect. I'll have one of those.
Wouldn't we all? But they're the most common things. And you've got to be consistent in your approach, but you've just got to be persistent as well, Michael.
Now, one of the lessons I mentioned a while ago is that life doesn't get simpler along the way, but maybe another one along the same lines is life doesn't get easier, but it doesn't mean it doesn't get better. People would like the easy way. It's not meant to be easy, because if it is, everyone would be a success, wouldn't they?
Oh, it's an old Paul Keating quote, isn't it? Life wasn't meant to be easy. But I mean,
yes, I remember that.
But the reality,
some people listening to this won't even know who he was. That's showing our age.
The thing is this, that people say to me in business, they go, Mark, what you're suggesting is going to be hard work. And I go, absolutely. But, the reality is, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be an entrepreneur. Everybody would be a successful property investor. And it's really only those people who are prepared to be patient, committed, consistent, and persistent that actually get to that end result, Michael.
Mark, I think when you look back in 5, 10, 15 years' time, you're going to realise that these are the good old days, believe it or not. People are complaining because of COVID and how it's messed up their lives and their industries, or they're investing. And no doubt there was a lot of challenges over the last couple of years, but it's a great time in history. And for many people, they'd probably think it's the good time. I mean, I know, experienced a worldwide pandemic. We're currently experiencing social and political unrest. And if you actually leave your phone on or your iPad on, you're going to get bad news 24/7. And that's the problem with this instantaneous news cycle. But there's also a lot of good that's going on at the moment. I'm sure the property market did really well, but I'm not just talking about that. There's a lot of good things happening in the world at the moment, but we're hardwired to look for the negative. I mean, that's that inbuilt system where you focus on bad things and pay less attention to the good things happening around you. It's that biological predisposition to negative thinking, Mark.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting, because in our current thinking, we are predisposed to negative thinking. But from a neuropsychological point of view, we're also hardwired to view the past through rosy-colored glasses. So we have this sort of positivity effect in our review of the past, and that's why people call it the good old days. Because when they look back 10 years' time, they were the good old days. But you know what? They probably weren't. They were probably just as tough as they are in any other time in history. I just think we're so lucky to be living now. It's exciting. Sure, we've got a pandemic, but I mean, Michael, think about, when was the last time you had a pandemic that then there was a vaccine developed inside, 6 to 10 months to overcome it?
Sure. So I guess part of success is mindset. In fact, it's a major part of it. I remember I was interviewed by somebody else for his podcast a while ago, and they asked, well, what's the big difference between successful property investors and the average investor who doesn't get that far? And he thought it was knowledge, or having the right people on their team, or having more money. And I said, no, it actually has to do with mindset. And I know we see that in Business Accelerator Mastermind, in business people as well. You see that with most successful people that you deal with, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we say is that business and success is really a game of inches, and the most important are the ones between your left ear and your right ear. I mean, it is absolutely about what goes on in your mindset, Michael.
So life won't necessarily get easier, but appreciate what you've got at the time. And okay, yeah, there will be problems, there will be failure, there will be challenges, but I guess one of the things that you do, and I know it because I'm part of the team of Business Accelerator Mastermind, on the one hand to help our clients, but on the other hand, as a client, I'm learning as well. You've learned or teaching us to become friends with failure.
Yeah, look, becoming friends with failure, it almost seems a little bit odd to say that, doesn't it? I mean, you teach people to actually embrace failure. I read this great quote, Michael. I'm reading a book called Moments at the moment. And when my kids were little, I picked them up from school and I used to say to them, what was the best part of your day? And I read this great quote where this Olympic athlete said that her dad used to pick her up from school and say, what did you fail at today? And the reason he wanted to do that is to show her that it was okay to fail and that you could embrace that failure. And he would say, what did you fail at today? Great. Therefore, what did you learn from it? How can you overcome that? So we have this great fear of failure, don't we? People fear making a mistake. They're scared of looking stupid in front of people or messing up in front of the boss. But the reality is, Michael, everyone makes mistakes. I mean,
well, perfection is impossible. You can't be perfect all the time. Now, I know that's a tough one to get your head around, especially most entrepreneurial types. Many of the clients we see are perfectionists, aren't they? Sooner or later, they learn that mistakes are inevitable. And in fact, once you accept that, you're happier. You're not as fussed when you do things wrong. You know that if you do make a mistake, you're either going to learn from your errors or you're going to find a different way of doing things. And I think it is important to realize everyone does make mistakes, even those that you look on social media or see elsewhere that you think never turn a foot wrong.
Well, it's interesting you say that because one of the blog posts that Lisa Messenger, who's a well-known Australian entrepreneur, she admitted she makes mistakes all the time. And yet, if you looked at, and I've read a number of Lisa's books, and if you looked at, her social media, etc., she looks like she's living this dream life that's got zero mistakes. But one of the things that Lisa Messenger said was, I've stuffed up, I still stuff up, I'll probably stuff up tomorrow. And I guess the question, Michael, is that why she's so successful?
I guess success in whatever we're talking about isn't smooth sailing. It's not a well-charted course. It's not a direct route. It's detours, accidental turn-offs. It's getting things wrong. You find you're on the wrong path and you've got to move forward. I guess that's one of the reasons why it's useful to actually have an annual review when you're a property investor to see what's going on and make sure that your plans are on track. That's actually why we give people a plan when we start with property investing, because if you don't have a plan, if you don't know where you're going, then how do you know if you're on the wrong track? But I know similarly it's what you do with clients at Business Accelerator Mastermind when you give them the game plan.
Oh, there's that famous saying, a failure to plan is a plan to fail. So we've got to map out what the future looks like. And Michael, if you didn't have a plan, it'd be a bit like going on a road trip without a map or without your phone. I mean, you probably just keep turning left and end up outside the front of your house again.
So I guess the message I'd like to give to people listening to this is it's not a problem about failing. It's not how often you fail even, but it's how you handle it. It's tempting. I know it's human nature to want to blame somebody else or an external force for failure. My suggestion is resist this urge because there's no rich victims. There's no successful victims. The best way to handle failure is to own up to it. Don't pretend it didn't exist. Don't blame someone else or something else. Saying that you made a mistake, in my mind, is a character-building exercise. Actually, it's the mark of a mature adult.
Yeah, it is. You and I were having a conversation about somebody in the Metropole group just the other day, and there was a mistake had been made, and you said to me, look, he owned the mistake, accepted that it was entirely his doing, and I think the thing that you commented on, the two things that followed with that was I had enormous respect for that, and now I want to help him.
Now, it's really interesting that you say that because as I was making this comment a minute ago, that's exactly what came to mind. It's scary how we sometimes think so much alike, having worked together for well over a decade. But it totally changed my respect because this was a person who I didn't expect to actually own his mistakes. But it's good because I bet he feels better for it as well.
Yeah, 100%. And if you could look at failure, Michael, as simply one part of the equation, failure is the first step, solution's the next step, isn't it?
That's right. So if you start thinking of your mistakes that way, it's just part of that two-step process. So if you've got staff working for you, you encourage them to think that way too. If it's just you, if you're flying solo, you just adopt the solution as part of your inner thinking. Every mistake is followed by a solution. It's so much more powerful than thinking, oh, no, I stuffed up again. I'm terrible. I'm never going to succeed. And of course, the other thing, Mark, is don't worry what other people think. We're all a bit like that, concerned what other people think, when most of the time they don't think much about us anyway, or what they think doesn't matter.
I used to say to my children, Michael, other people's opinion of you is none of your business. And I think it's a good lesson to take through. We see that holding people back, don't we? We see it in investment decisions, in success, in business decisions. Oh, but what will people think? Should I do that? What will they think of me if I fail? But also, what will they think of me if I succeed? As opposed to simply being guided by their own inner compass.
Well, that's another lesson in this list of life lessons we're wanting to share with people. Every second you spend comparing yourself with somebody else is a second spent wasting your own time. So stop comparing yourself to others and create your own definition of success instead. We've already said a moment ago that it's so hard with social media to compare. And again, you should compare people at your stage of life rather than people who are already successful. That doesn't mean you shouldn't aspire to be like them, but that's very different to actually feeling bad about not being where they are.
Aspiring to follow someone, learning from their lessons, from their mistakes, is very different from looking at somebody and being jealous of their position or believing that you can never achieve that.
Well, I think one of the big lessons that propelled me many years ago was the concept of having a mentor. So a mentor is somebody who you can aspire to be like, who can help you, who can see your blind spots, who can keep you on track. And I think it was Tony Robbins who first taught me that. So I've spent a lot of money over the years in personal development. I realized that I don't have to come up with all the ideas myself. I don't have to do it all myself either. I'm allowed to, and I should have a team around me. And I know it's one of the big things that changed my success in the Metropole group of companies when I first got a business coach way back in 2006. And I think one of the best things that happened was when you became my business coach 10, 12 years ago. So I'd be leaving a life lesson here to people as we're discussing this list of life lessons, that find a mentor, but you've got to be really careful who your mentor is. Somebody who's already achieved what you want. But the other thing is, be prepared to pay for a mentor, because there are so many people out there who are saying they're mentors, but they're actually hidden salespeople on the side.
Yeah, that's right. And they're pushing their own agenda, and what motivates them is not actually watching their clients achieve levels of success, but watching their bank account grow.
Definitely. So at Metropole, on the property side of things, we have a large company with a very deep research department, and we don't make our money by selling properties. So therefore our advice is independent, unbiased and holistic. So while a lot of buyers agents won't ever make any money if they don't allow you to buy something in their patch or recommend you buy something in their patch, with us we start by putting a plan together first, bringing people's future into the present and helping them plan to become the people they plan to become. And then we help them implement that plan. And because we've got local area experts in each state, we've got that depth of knowledge that we're not dependent upon just being in one location, or we're only going to advise you in one location. I know similarly with Metropole's Business Accelerator Mastermind that you and I are business partners in, you help business people as well as their mentor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same process, Michael. The whole idea is to map out their plan, understand where they want to be, and then as they work toward it, help them to A, see some blind spots, but B, not have to go through the life lessons that you and I went through. So they actually get to learn from the mistakes that we've made in our own journeys.
Well, if you want to find out a bit more about what we do at Metropole, and we don't sell properties, go to metropole.com.au and you'll see one of our divisions is Business Accelerator Mastermind, or you can go to metropolemastermind.com.au and find out how you can have the same business coach I have, one of the same mentors I have. And I have mentors in a number of different areas of my life still, and I'm prepared to pay for them, but how you can have Mark on your side. Mark, I'd also like to discuss the concept, the life lesson that the harder you work, the luckier you get. I've found that rich people, successful business people are lucky. Now, most people would say, hey, that's not right. That's not fair. How do I get that luck? And there is a way of getting there. I think we're going to talk about that at the moment. If you ask the average person, they're going to be jealous of the luck of successful people. They're going to think, oh, he's only successful because he was lucky. It's very different. Tom Corley, a good friend, did a 5-year study of the rich and the poor, and he found out that there was different sorts of luck. There was luck that was random good luck, or there was self-made good luck. And the wealthy people, a portion of them had random good luck, but the vast majority of it was self-made. That makes a big, big difference. So I guess the life lesson I want to teach you is if you want to be rich, if you want to be successful, you need luck. But while you've got no control over the circumstances you're born into, you actually do have a control of the circumstances you manufacture in the rest of your life. Mark, I think it was Steve Jobs who said, it's not your fault if you were born poor, but it's your fault if you were die poor.
Yeah. The really interesting thing, and a number of different surveys, and depending which one you look at, but it's something between 67 and 70 to 80% of all millionaires are actually self-made. So they start out poor or middle class, but they go looking for the luck, Michael, don't they?
Now, that's a really, really good point, though. If others can do it, then you can do it as well. If one other person's managed to do it, whether it's be successful in business, successful in property, you should be able to do it too.
Well, one of the things that you work on with people at Wealth Retreat, and I know this wasn't intended to be a discussion about Wealth Retreat, but it's just so relevant, is helping people to remove those limiting beliefs. And you often talk about looking out for that social proof. Let's find somebody who's done it. Let's find somebody who's achieved what you think you can't. And it's exactly the same in getting that success. So you actually have to create that luck. You have to go and look for the luck, Michael, don't you?
Yes, you do. Now, that's interesting you mentioned Wealth Retreat, because we are going to run it this year. We haven't been able to for a couple of years because of COVID. So it's on the Gold Coast from April 2nd to 6th. And because a lot of people booked in last year and have continued on to plan to come along to it, there aren't a lot of spots left. But if you go to wealthretreat.com.au and find out about what this special event is, we've been running it since, I think, 2006 or 2007, when once a year we get together in a room of already very successful business people, entrepreneurs and investors. And it's a Look, it sounds corny to say it's a transformational event, but it really is, Mark, isn't it?
You're right. It does sound corny, and I often say that to people when they talked about going to Wealth Retreat. And I say, look, I wouldn't say, many things are life-changing in terms of those sorts of events, but the number of people that I've seen just transform their life after spending 5 days there is quite astounding.
And it's not because you're spending 5 days with you and you spend a lot of time there and me and the faculty, but it's also the other people you're around. If you can spend 5 days with such motivating people, all of a sudden you build a new network. Because I found that one of the challenges a lot of people have is isolation. They actually don't have a lot of people to talk with about their successes or their challenges.
Yeah, isolation's a real issue in business. And, Michael, one of the things I often ask people is, do you have a network? I mean, it's one of the things that we do in Business Accelerator Mastermind is we give people that mastermind group as well. But isolation is that real challenge. And it gets back to that fear of appearing to be successful, not wanting to brag about your success, not wanting to talk about. But similarly, if you're an entrepreneur and you try and talk about the challenges of entrepreneurship or challenges of business with people who aren't in that position, it just becomes really difficult and complex. So having the opportunity to sit with that new group of network people is really quite amazing.
Well, Tom Corley, that we were speaking about a while ago, comes once a year to Wealth Retreat. Now, he may not be able to this year because of international travel, but he's going to be doing a live video session. But I know that he says that success, when you think about it, really boils down to a game of hide and seek. Luck does the hiding. You've got to go seek for it. You've got to look for luck in the right places. So where do you look for it? Well, fortunately, success does leave clues. But you know what? Luck hides outside of your comfort zone.
Yep.
You can't actually just be sitting there and hoping for it to land on your lap.
No, you can't. And I mean, I guess, Michael, successful people are very much like scientists, aren't they? They like to experiment. They step outside. They try new ideas, new people, new things. And I guess, therefore, that finding that luck really does require you to step outside of your comfort zone.
It requires you to have an open mind, one that's curious, receptive to possibilities. And that goes back to what we said before about some people just not preparing to do things until it's all set out for them. But you'll never have that bit planned of how you're going to find that luck. So you've got to step outside your comfort zone, but you've also got to think positively, don't you? You've actually got to look for opportunities. Positivity opens up opportunities. It means you've got a positive mental attitude. It's the springboard to creativity, to insights. It's going to help you solve problems. Optimists do much, much better in this world than pessimists, Mark.
Yeah, they do, because optimists are out looking for ways to solve problems. They're looking for solutions. And that's how they think, and that's how they succeed, because as opposed to, bemoaning the fact that something's happened or something hasn't worked, it's, okay, it hasn't worked, I'll dust myself off, get on with it, and now find another solution. And that's how they continue. As you said before, not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up that counts.
So how do you get lucky? Well, what you got to do is look for it. You've got to step outside your comfort zone. You've got to be positive, and you actually have to be courageous. Luck hides behind courage.
Courage isn't the absence of fear, though, Michael, is it? It's about how you overcome the fear and how you create habits to deal with the fear, as opposed to going off blindly. And you and I have certainly seen this, believing that you can't fail, that you have zero fear. That's equally dangerous.
100%. So it does encourage you to take risks. You've got to take risks and minimize your downside 100%, but you've still got to step outside your comfort zone. I think the other area where you find luck, Mark, is inside new relationships, meeting the right people. You've got to get out there to do it, whether it's networking groups or volunteering or seminars. Now, to be honest, Mark, I haven't found those networking breakfasts very helpful at all. You've got a lot of other people going there just looking to, they're self-serving in many ways. And that's why I found paying to be part of a mentorship group like Business Accelerator Mastermind or like coming to Wealth Retreat, you're actually dealing with other people who are prepared to pay for that privilege as well.
Yeah, that's right. I've always found those networking groups just a business card exchange exercise, or these days a LinkedIn profile exchange exercise, and people who are looking to sell me something, as opposed to people who are looking to actually take me on that journey with them. One of the things I love about what we do in Mastermind and at Wealth Retreat, Michael, is not just that individual learning, but the shared wisdom and the collective momentum that comes out of being a part of a new group and finding those new relationships. I mean, how I met you is a very good example. I met you through somebody who is now a mutual friend, but it was a client of mine and who said, Michael Yardney's looking for a coach, and you asked him, and that's how you and I came to work together.
Isn't that interesting? So what we're suggesting is that successful people create their own luck. And when you've done the hard yards, when you've put yourself in the right position and luck comes around, Mark, you actually have to do something with it. You have to take action, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Otherwise, what's the old saying, Michael? Some kind of a plan without an implementation strategy is just a dream. You're never actually going to get there. So you actually must take action to move toward the objectives you're looking to achieve.
Well, as it's the beginning of a new year, I have made some plans for this year. I know you have. I know a lot of our clients have, and almost certainly the person listening to you and me at the moment has. What we were trying to do is give them a list of some lessons that we've learned to help it make it more likely that they go ahead and implement those plans. So my suggestion is, if you're serious about growing your wealth financially and you're wanting to take advantage of the property markets that are happening this year, why not have a chat with my team at Metropole? And if you're a business person or entrepreneur, there's no one I could recommend higher than the person that I enjoyed working with so much. I invited him to be my business partner in Business Accelerator Mastermind, Mark Creedon. So there'll be some links in the show notes. And Mark, if somebody's listening to this and would like to just spend 10, 15 minutes chatting about what you can do for them or not, Would you be happy to do that?
I'd love to, Michael. Love to have a chat and just see what they're looking to achieve and how we can, if we can, how we can help them to get there.
Now, interestingly, you don't help everybody. And I think one of the great things is you're honest about that. Mark, but Business Accelerator Mastermind, I know it runs differently to other coaching programs. Others would say, I've already done it. I've learned it. I've had a coach. I've got a coach, somebody who knows about my industry. What do you do differently? Why should they even bother speaking to you?
Well, it's a good thing. There's a number of things we do differently. First of all, the clients get the opportunity to work with me one-on-one. They get access to you and Caroline and to quite a wide faculty of international experts in various fields, Michael. So they get access to that. But on top of that, they also get access to each other. So the mastermind community is very much a big part of what we do. And so in addition to being able to work through their plans and learn from me, learn from you, they learn from each other. That's how you get that collective momentum and that shared wisdom. And I think that the thing that I really like about what we do differently is we don't niche ourselves into a particular market or a particular industry. So I've often picked up something in one industry that I've been able to pick up and move across to another industry. Generally speaking, business people associate with their own kind. So if you're in one profession, you won't see something that's happening in another, for example, but I probably have. And so we can help you to pick that up and drop it into your business and work out how to apply it there for success.
So I guess let's finish with one last lesson for people. And the hardest work you do is doing what you don't like. What you've got to do is do the hard yards now so you have an easy life later. And part of that's actually working on yourself, improving yourself. So, Mark, this is the first of our chats for 2022, but we're going to be catching up very regularly. Look forward to speaking again real soon.
Look forward to it, Michael. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my chat with Mark. Now, while the main topic of this podcast is property investment, of course we talk a lot about success and about money and about mindset, because while the rules of property investment, they're all written up in books and blogs and we talk about it a lot, unless you have the right mindset, unless you have the right attitude, you're not going to be successful. So I hope you enjoy these chats as much as I enjoy bringing them to you. And if you learned something from today, if it's helped you a little bit, and you know somebody else who'd get some benefit as well, please help me in my quest to make as many people as successful as possible in their lives by telling somebody about the Michael Yardney podcast. There's a share button or something to click on every podcast app, or just do it the old-fashioned way and tell somebody about the show. I'd really appreciate it. Or why not leave us a review? I'll be back again real soon, twice a week. But in the meantime, you can catch me on social media. Just look for Michael Yardney or go to my private Facebook group. Go to Facebook and look for the Property Update private Facebook group. I'll be back again real soon. In the meantime, have a great week. Make it a great week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Michael Yardney podcast, which was brought to you by Metropole, who help their clients grow, protect, and pass on their wealth through strategic property and wealth advice. If you like what you heard and don't already subscribe, you'll find us on iTunes or on your favorite Android app as the Michael Yardney podcast. Watch out for our next show, which comes to you twice a week, and you'll learn some new ideas about property investment, success, and money in around 30 minutes. To get more of Michael's thoughts, go across to www.propertyupdate.com.au and sign up for his daily morning briefing, and you'll hear from not only Michael but a group of leading property success and money experts. And just a reminder that the information you heard in this show today is general educational advice and not specific investment advice, as we don't know your personal circumstances. If you're looking for specific advice, why not ask the team at Metropole to help you?